Hello, dear friends. Welcome to this program, Moments with God, where I share with you my simple and humble reflections in an informal way on the daily Mass readings, or if there is an important saint in the Roman calendar, about their lives and their importance, always with this positive hope that all this will help you and me to discover more depth and truth about our own faith, about Christianity, about Catholicism, and may deepen our faith as well as help us in our spiritual life, which I call spiritual journey, and to establish a relationship with God and eventually at a deeper level, even friendship with God. And if you would like to please subscribe to this channel, you may please do it now. And please, I request you to also share it with others and ask them also to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. I am standing today, of course, on the 19th Sunday of the year here near a tree, because today's first reading from the book of Kings speaks about Elijah, who was running away actually from Jezebel and just lay down below a tree and asked God to take his life away. He was tired, he was disappointed, and he was hungry, and he just wanted to die. But as he lay there, the angel of the Lord came to him and shook him up and told him, "Come, get up and eat this." And he gave him their bread and, of course, a jug of water, which, of course, Elijah ate and went back to sleep. And the second time, the angel of the Lord came and woke him up again and told him, "Eat and drink and get enough strength to go forward," which Elijah did, ate that bread and drank that water and proceeded again on his mission. Remember, Elijah was a prophet. He did great things with Baal and King Ahab. He was not afraid and he spoke, but here he was running away. God caught him and God sent his angel. Remember, whichever tree or forest, this is also a beautiful forest in Austria, you may try to hide, God will go after you. Go after you not in the negative sense, but to catch hold of you and to bring you back. He will take you out of all the disappointments of your life as he did with Elijah. And he will even provide the necessary things. In this case, of course, it was the case or the need of a bread and water which he gave him. But don't ask for too many material things from the Lord. So this tree here reminds us of how Elijah, though tired, finally got up, and having eaten that bread, he got that strength. And that talk about bread continues in the gospel. As I told you last two Sundays, that this gospel of today from the gospel of St. John chapter 6 is a rather long gospel, and I told you already or warned you that this reading of this particular chapter will continue for the next now 2 more Sundays, but including altogether 5 Sundays, because it is all about the Eucharist and how important it is for the church and for us, for our nourishment, as in the case of Elijah, for spiritual nourishment, that the church takes this reading, and as it was very important for John, the evangelist who wrote this gospel and this chapter, that to discover the importance of the Eucharist for our spiritual nourishment and to go ahead. But it is not that easy. It doesn't come that simply. An angel of the Lord had to come and offer this bread to Elijah, and as Jesus says in the gospel later on today, I will come to that, that your ancestors ate manna in the desert. That was again bread and food provided by God in the desert. So he says, your ancestors ate manna in the desert and they all died. But whoever eats this bread will never die. Remember that? But before he came to this point, that whoever eats this bread will never die, you remember the gospel begins today by saying, as Jesus was speaking to them about this bread of life, the people, hearers, began to grumble. That's the word used in the gospel, grumble or murmur among themselves, saying, how can he give us his bread? Because Jesus said, I am the bread that has come down from heaven. So they said, heaven? Don't we know him? He is from here. In another gospel also this point comes up again and again when people don't want to believe Jesus or do not want to understand what he is trying to say. And actually speaking, if I were in their place, as I have mentioned earlier, I would not blame them. Why, Because this is something altogether new that they are hearing. For the first time that they are hearing, I am the bread of life and I have come down from heaven. Now, how to believe him or how to take what he is saying seriously? Is he saying, making sense? So I also would be among the crowd, really. I am happy to confess that I would be also in the crowd and maybe grumble and question, what does he mean by saying, I am the bread of light, I have come down from heaven? We know him, he is from Nazareth, his father is a carpenter, his mother is Mary, and we know his cousins, we know where he lives, we know his address. So what does he mean? But I think, you see, they do not recognize yet that he is the Son of God, that he is actually come down from heaven. And this is what I mean, my dear friends, when I say that spiritual journey and spiritual life is this: to discover the reality of God, to discover how God is speaking to us and what he is speaking to us. Because sometimes we do not understand what he is saying. Sometimes we do not grasp and we may simply ignore and go over the reading. This is why it is important for us to take time with the Word of God, to take time with what we hear. It is not simply a mechanical thing that we do when we take up our rosary and pray in the ordinary lives of people, or among the religious that we go every day, we say our lauds in the morning, go for mass and open our tongue and receive the communion. All that is fine, but let it not become a routine. What I mean by saying that let us establish a relationship with the Lord, that can be done only after discovering what exactly he is saying. Now I want to just make a small distinction here. I don't want to make the sermon very long, that sometimes this discovery of the Lord or of his words does not take place. You know why? Because we have been born Catholics or Christians, and we have been learning about the Bible, about Jesus right from our childhood. We have been hearing that every year, we have been taught in the catechism. So we take all that has been taught to us in the catechism as article of faith, and which is true. Article of faith it is. And we have been taught that. But within that article of faith, it is always good to ask, what does God mean? Are these people who are grumbling today, for example, in the gospel, who are they? Why are they grumbling? Have I ever asked God the meanings of some of the things that I do not understand? Do I take time, or do I just listen from one ear and let it go from the other ear? Or do I just take everything that has been given to me as article of faith without reflecting on what it is, without going into it, and without allowing that word to speak to my heart, and without taking the deeper meaning of that? And that's why Jesus says, I am the bread of life. As I told you, this discourse on the bread of life, which began with the multiplication of bread and the two fish, and will continue two more Sundays, including today, on this Eucharist, I would like to invite you all to please look at some of the things that you have been believing, not to throw them away, but yes, ask Lord, talk to Him, pray to Him, and I am sure He will enlighten us. He will lead us. The angel of the Lord, as he came to Elijah and woke him up and gave him the bread, the angel of the Lord, when you ask questions, when you are tired, when you have doubt, he will come and wake you up and tell you, hello, hello, Dominic, or hello, hello, so and so. Here it is. Here is the meaning of this bread of life. Here is what Jesus is trying to tell you. Enjoy this bread that Jesus is offering you. And I wish you all the very best and all the best. Thank you.